Is there a way that, since all of us are different, and it makes total sense, if you're somebody that's adventurous, you're going to be like, oh, let me just give this a shot, and then whatever comes, at least it's an adventure in terms of cold calling or whatever, because that terrifies people. Is there a way to know who you are, some kind of standardized test or whatever? And the reason I want to know, because I want to know if there's like any sound advice for people that are watching going, man, I'm not adventurous at all. That terrifies me. And at the same time, I also believe, and I want everybody to know that no matter how much you do it, at least in my experience, no matter how much sales I've done since 2013, so we're literally at 10 years. And a couple weeks ago, I haven't done actual like cold calls myself for like a year because I have setters now, right? And a couple weeks ago, I was sitting there going, man, I really, just to like get back in the trenches, I want to go and do some cold calls. It's going to help me do better on the lives. It's going to help me speak with more authority on whatever. And I want to test out my scripts and everything else. And so I had planned, I'm like, okay, next week I am going to do cold calls. So I pushed it all the way to Thursday. Thursday came and I pushed it to Friday. And I felt like I was like back on the doors on my first day. And it was Thursday night and I'm like sweating, just thinking about the next day. And I'm trying to make excuses like, you don't need to do this. You've already built this and this. I'm just like completely procrastinating. Luckily, I remembered at some point, I was just like, dude, Nick, this is how you've made your money, is by doing these kind of things. Like, don't not do the thing that's gotten you there. And then I remember like every time I do something that just terrifies me, I feel so good after. I feel so much confidence and I feel so much like euphoria. And that for me, I've trained my brain enough that allows me to go into those uncomfortable situations. Is there a way, A, to find out like who you are, how you are, and then B, any advice for how to train your brain? Like for me, it's just been over time of like, I've not done it. I've succumbed to like that fear and not done it. And then had regret for a week or the weekend and been like, man, that was not worth it. And then I've done the opposite. And I'm like, okay, it's so much better, even if it's scary, to do it because of how I'm going to feel. But is there a way to know who you are and then how to deal with it in terms of speaking directly with fear of rejection in the context of sales?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there are a lot of online tests that you can take that are free. I actually will take all of my clients. If they don't do it, I won't work with them. I can peg somebody pretty dead on just from having a 2 or 3 minute conversation, like what their profile is. But I use DISC profiling.
I heard that.
It's widely used in corporate organizations and it's more behavioral. It takes a lot of different pieces of your behavior and looks at them, everything from your strengths and your weaknesses, what motivates you as a person, why you do the things you do. The challenge with it though, like if you go and get one online without having somebody to kind of break it down for you, is that it'll give you these things like you build trust very easily with people. And your weakness is that you don't do well in an environment where you're working in a call center, whatever it might be. So the things are kind of weird the way they give you the information. So what we typically do is it's almost like a mind reader, which is kind of fun. So I'm like, okay, well, you ever had that situation happen where you got in an argument with your wife and it was seemingly something silly, but then all of a sudden it was like she asked you to empty the trash and you completely lost your shit. You lost it on the kids, you lost it on this, and it's like a very rhetorical statement.
Oh, I'll answer it. I think that happened this week.
Usually it's a little bit more specific than that, I think that.
No, I'm kidding. But I think anyone could relate to that situation. Yes.
Okay. So I'll give you a better one. I had somebody come into my office. She's actually on a team with someone who's very egotistical and a little bit like, I'm going to steal your thunder kind of person. And so I asked her and it never came out, but you see, she had a little bit of animosity. And I said, do you ever feel like you're becoming resentful of your business partner? Just in working with them naturally over time, like, do you feel like you're becoming a little resentful? She's like, oh my God, I'm becoming a lot resentful. And it's fucking crushing like everything I'm doing around me because I'm obsessing about it. And every time she opens her mouth now, I get mad. Like it doesn't even matter what she says. And what it went back to was that because what her motivators are and what her strengths and weaknesses are, she's not able to correctly identify the emotion that she's feeling when these things are happening. And she's not being assertive enough to tame her partner because she doesn't want to hurt feelings. So there's like a lot of different aspects that come into it that are both psychological and brain related. The biggest key is that you really dive into it though and try to understand where these things show up in your life. And then number two, how to retrain your brain is really sitting back and asking yourself some questions when you see yourself flaring up. These are the types of things is that we don't realize why we're getting so angry. Somebody tells us no and we throw the phone against the wall. But understanding that maybe you're not sad. maybe you're not really angry. Maybe the emotion you're feeling is actually that you're being abandoned again, right? That client calls and cancels something. Well, it's not personal, yet you're taking it personal. So then it's understanding, okay, if I'm feeling betrayed because I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into growing this, and he's telling me that my leads suck, maybe I need to take a step back and go, this isn't personal. And he might have a completely different behavioral profile than I do. So he's seeing this differently. And that forms a good opportunity for you to get a little bit more perspective.